Wow. Where does Clark the Shark even begin? We're talking amazing album here, people. The Music Machine. Talk Talk. 1966. And these five guys with the black bowl haircuts. One glove, one black glove. I don't even know what these creeps were even. Man, I to this day, I think I'm a guy who knows the Music Machine so well. But these creepy guys who invented punk, heavy metal, garage, grunge, indie, goth, you name it, the Music Machine invented it. The Music Machine perfected it. Sean Bonnewell and his Music Machine at 1-800-449-8255. We're talking incredible album here. Now, Talk Talk hits you right at the beginning. And you are transfixed. You are transcended immediately into the future. Especially if you're back in 1966 right now. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Clark the Shark in the Matrix. I'm talking to you back in time, back there, listening to the Music Machine, because you're listening to the band that's going to change rock and roll more than anything. That's this band right here. 1966, the year of American rock and roll bands in the garage. And the losing streaks, man, I love them. And I love Batlord. I love bands that celebrate 1966. 1967 is so different. Psychedelia comes along and it almost ruins rock and roll in some weird, twisted way, because where was that American grunge? Like, all these bands with fuzz tone guitars, all these bands in garages, 1966. And there was no other band like the Music Machine and Talk Talk in this incredible album. Everyone respects this album. Everyone. Pete Townsend loves this album, man. The original songs on this are all like, you can tell the Doors heard this album and they're like, we got to be like that band, the Music Machine. And you could tell that Arthur Lee in Love, he heard this album and he's like, I got to be like the Music Machine. And Sean and these guys with the black glove and the black bowl haircuts, and they dress all in black. And a lot of people forget that in 1966, there was like an evil scene. It was almost like Satanism. Lots of bands in the garage, smoking weed, drinking beer, and just making shitty noise with fuzz distortion. And, the Grateful Dead were originally called the Warlocks. And there was just a lot of evil, like underground rock and roll distortion. Punk rock was born in 1966, and the Count Five are just such an evil band. I mean, they dress like vampires, but there's no darker, more mysterious band than the Music Machine. Sean, the genius, just behind this band. I mean, a lot of people think it's the Seeds, but for me, since I was 10 years old, it's the Music Machine, this dark, evil band with these bowl haircuts, one black glove, way before the Ramones, way before Iggy and the Stooges, right there with The Who in 1966. Pete Townsend loves this band, man. And everyone wondered what happened to the Music Machine. They only did like 2 albums, but both albums are incredible. Both of their albums are amazing. And they just disappeared, man. I guess, they were so locked in with 1966 that they couldn't make the transition, into 1968. And then 1968, you had all this stuff like Steppenwolf and, Led Zeppelin, and The Who got heavier. And I guess the Music Machine just, they couldn't make the adjustment or the transition into that scene. But I always wondered, what would the Music Machine have been like if they just went heavy in like 1969? Well, I already know they would have been like Iggy and the Stooges. Iggy Pop loved the Music Machine. He loved the Seeds. He loved the Count Five. He loved the MC5. But there's something about the Music Machine. Something about all these songs. I mean, even the lame like covers are interesting. Trouble, amazing song. I love it. All the originals by Sean are so good, man. Some other drum is good. Masculine Intuition is just so fucking killer, man. These songs are dark. These songs are evil. The People in Me. It's almost like not garage rock. It's like, man, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know, man. The Music Machine are kind of produced and kind of polished with this album, and yet it's still dark garage. And it's evil, it's the songs, they're dark, the One Black Glove, the Count Five, all those bands, the Standells and everybody in 1966, they looked up to the Music Machine as the leaders. And all rock and roll, from punk rock to grunge to garage to indie to goth, everybody really, really, the Music Machine should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're like one of those unfortunate bands that, if The Who had only released My Generation, if that was the only song Pete Townsend and The Who ever did, The Who would have been great. Like if Pete Townsend would have died in 1966 and the band just faded away, My Generation puts The Who in the Rock Hall of Fame. But I say that about Talk Talk. The Music Machine Talk Talk is one of those amazing songs of all time. Just an incredible, incredible song. This album is incredible. These songs are so dark. Trouble. Oh, man, it's 2 minutes and 11 seconds of amazing. And the song Wrong. Awesome. And I love Come On In. Really brooding, dark. Almost tries to go pop and commercial, but they're so dark and evil. You try to pet the Music Machine and then they bite you like a venomous snake. You're like some girl, you want to dance to them, but these evil dark guys with the One Black Glove, they're evil, man. This is an evil, twisted, dark band. And their next album is really good too. Astrologically Incompatible, amazing song, amazing album. Only 2 albums from this band, and Sean Bonnewell, really a genius. Bummer about that guy in rock. He's really arrested development, because I would love to see a whole career through the 1970s. I wish they hadn't done like covers, Neil Diamond and Taxman. They actually do an interesting version of Taxman, and their sort of dark version of CC Rider is interesting, and weird versions of 96 Tears and Hey Joe. But I would rather have seen this all original Music Machine Talk Talk 1966, the greatest year in rock. All these bands, not just in America, but the UK, getting into the garage and ripping holes in speakers. Kind of like Clark the Shark from GE, experimenting with distortion and fuzz tones. The Beatles were so amazing and clean, but all these bands in 1966 were like, we're going to tear holes in our speakers, and we're going to make distorted, dark music that's evil. And Pete Townsend was doing that. just like Link Ray, Pete was ripping whole. It sounds really distorted when you take a speaker, he's rip holes in it, and it just is the most dark fuzz tone grunge. I almost think the Music Machine are where heavy metal begins. I think it's the song "The Ox" by The Who in 1965. The Beatles have some heavy metal inclinations. It won't be long. That little riff, for sure, is heavy metal. And, Drive My Car and a couple Beatles songs have like a nod, like a tip of the hat to metal before there's metal. And of course, Helter Skelter is definitely metal. But the Music Machine in this album, Talk Talk, they invent the concept of heavy metal, but they invent the concept of punk, goth, grunge, indie, alternative rock. Iggy Pop loved the Music Machine. Everyone loves Sean Bonnewell. Talk Talk is just one of the greatest songs in rock. And this band, the Music Machine, 1966, I can't say enough about them. Everybody in a punk rock band, everybody, from the Pixies to Black Flag to the Circle Jerks to the Sex Pistols to the Damned to Iggy and the Stooges to the Doors to the Who to the Strawberry Alarm Clock to the Electric Prunes, to everybody, man. We owe 1966, that year where so many bands were in the garage going underground and just making this underground music that was so dark and evil. The Count Five, the Music Machine, the Warlocks, who later became the Grateful Dead. But, I look up to Sean Bonnewell and the Music Machine and this album, Talk Talk, and songs like Trouble and Come On In. And, oh, man. I look to this album, man. These guys, these five guys with one black glove. I don't even know what they were protesting, but I'm with them all the way. I don't even know why they were so confused and twisted. But I know some other drum and masculine intuition and wrong. And Come On In. And The People in Me and Talk Talk are just dark underground garage. I wish the whole album was dark underground garage. And you know what? Even the covers. This is twisted, man. This is a twisted, weird album that had to amuse like John Entwistle of The Who and Frank Zappa. Because, Boris the Spider and Silas Stingy and Cousin Kevin, I can feel how the Music Machine threw their spell out there to all this music, from the Doors to just all these bands, the Amboy Dukes and everybody, punk rock, grunge, everything, my band, the Greenhouse Effect, Led Zeppelin, everybody, Frank Zappa, everybody, David Bowie, everybody loves Sean Bonnewell, the Music Machine. Talk Talk, one of the greatest songs in rock and roll. Great, fabulous song. Great, fabulous band. They should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Music Machine. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Right now, you guys need to listen to Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255. I would put the Strawberry Alarm Clock in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'd put the Music Machine in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'd put the Amboy Dukes in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Seeds and the Count Five. I mean, it's not just the Doors, man. Back in the 60s, there were all these dark, evil bands in a garage all over the United States. There was a whole scene of Texas bands. Punk rock, man, in Detroit, before there was punk, before there was grunge, before there was metal. There were bands like the Music Machine and Talk Talk. Dark, brooding, evil, underground, very evil, one black glove. No one even knows what they were representing or what they were protesting what the hell they were talking about. But there was something mysterious and mystical underground back in the magical 1960s. I love the music of the 60s. I grew up on it. You know, I love the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper. I love the Who, Sell Out, man. I love the Doors. You know, I love Cream, but there's something about the Music Machine and Sean Bonnewell and the song Talk Talk is so ahead of its time. It's so ahead of its time. And that song by the Castaways, Liar Liar, it invented punk rock, alternative. You can tell bands like X and that LA scene, Social Distortion, and all those bands like the Blasters. Oh man, all those people like DJ Bonebreak, Exene. They loved Liar Liar, but I think they loved the Music Machine, Talk Talk. And Sean Bonnewell is like the god of rock. Before Jim Morrison. These 5 guys with evil black bull haircuts. They're like the evil Beatles. They're more evil than the Rolling Stones. One black glove, one black album. Talk Talk. These songs, you got to listen to them. You got to listen to this whole album. Even if you think some of it's cheesy, I want you to listen to the whole album again. And you know the original songs are all amazing. And I want you to listen to the next Music Machine album. And it's a bummer these guys did not go on, because this was one amazing, important band in the history of rock, in the history of grunge, garage rock, psychedelia, everything. The Music Machine. The leaders, the owners of 1966, fuzz tone, grunge, rock. Without this album, you wouldn't have had Bitter Creek, I Think I Hear the Sound of Thunder. You might not have had The Who, I Can See for Miles. You might not have had Led Zeppelin. You might not have had Helter Skelter by the Beatles. You might not have had Jimi Hendrix without this heavy, dark, brooding, evil, emo, underground garage band. Sean Bonnewell and the Music Machine. Look at these guys, man. They're more evil than the Count 5. I love them. The Music Machine, Talk Talk. One of the greatest albums of rock. This album should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Iggy Pop would agree. He loves the Seeds. I love the Seeds, man. I love the Count 5. I love 1966. I love the Standells. I love the Who, A Quick One, Substitute, I'm a Boy, you know, So Sad About Us. But I love the Music Machine more. And Talk Talk is it's just such a song with great lyrics, poetry lyrics, so far ahead of its time. It's like Bob Dylan went punk rock. Amazing song, amazing band. All-time rock and roll greats, the Music Machine. An all-time album for all time. And God bless the Losing Streaks. God bless Batlord. And God bless so many bands like the Sponge Tones and the Ruddles. So many bands that try to keep the 60s alive because it was such a great time. So amazing. All these Beatles tribute bands, I like them. But I wish there was a Music Machine tribute band at 1-800-449-8255. I'm sure there is. Because Talk Talk, that song, deserves its whole room in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you just got the review of one of the most amazing bands with one of the most amazing albums. Dark, fuzzy, grunge, punk, distorted, and yet kind of polished and produced and pro. And sometimes sounds nice. The Music Machine. Before the Doors, before the Stooges, before the Ramones, before Black Flag, before the Sex Pistols, before the Damned, before Led Zeppelin, there was the Music Machine, Talk Talk, the inventors of goth, the inventors of grunge, the originators. These guys are rock gods. The Music Machine, Talk Talk. God bless Sean Bonnewell and this evil, these 5 brooding guys. Amazing rock, amazing times, the 1960s. Amazing year 1966. And you just heard the word from Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255, the Wolfman Jack on crack, giving you the greatest, most accurate review of the Music Machine and Sean Bonnewell. Just one of the most important bands in the history of all music and all rock and roll. And I'm out. Peace, my brothers.